For every powerful application, you cannot go without integrating email service, because email service allows you to send message to your connected users. And there are so many ways of achieving that. But in this video, I'm going to make it very simple for you, the easiest one of all, to help you send mail easily. I have a Visual Studio open and I have a project created in .NET 9. Let's go and install a package, and in there we're going to run our email server locally. We must make sure we have Docker also installed. And in here, Docker compose, so .yaml. Once we have this file created, let's go and specify our setup for this Papercut. So that is all we have. We're going to specify a service. Then in there we have our Netcode-Hub.Papercut. That is a service. In that we specify the image. So that is the image of the Papercut. There's the container name, and we have our port here open. Okay. Now once we have this service created, what is the next thing that we need to do? We need to just go in and install a package which can allow us to communicate with this image when it runs. There are a lot of packages that we can use. We can use Fluent email.smtp, or we can even use the mail kit. Let's try Fluent email, because I've already made a video on using MailKit. Let's see from the solution. We go into dependencies and add and get packages. And let's search for Fluent email. So that is the package I'm talking about, Fluent email.smtp. Now let's get this package installed. All right, so once we have this package installed, we can go ahead and first run our Docker Compose file to make sure that we have our image pulled from Docker-Hub. Then it is running, so we can access it and see the UI. So we can just right click on where we have this Docker Compose file, then go to Open Containing Folder. So in here, that is a file that we have. We can just right click on any of the folders there and go to Open in Terminal. You want to get this Docker Compose file. So when you have your terminal launch, you can just type in list. Now we're going to have access to, okay, so we having this. So it means you need to go back, list again, and that is where we have our Docker Compose file. Okay. Now once you have this, we can just type in Docker Compose app. Now this is going to pull the image in case you do not have that. This will pull it and get it run. Now let's wait for this to get run. Now I have this image pulled already, so you can see that it's going to create and also attach it, and that is all. It will be live. We can access this through the port of 8080 because that is what we specified over there with a protocol of 25. Now let's put our browser and see what we can do with that. So in the browser, we can access it through this port of localhost.8080. That's an HTTP. So when you try to run this, we have a Papercut opened. And as you can see, currently we do not have any mail. As you can see, inbox is 0. And we can refresh this, keep refreshing, but we don't have any incoming mail. All right, so let's put this aside. And let's go and configure a service or app to make a communication to this. Now we're going to configure this first. So first of all, let's create a session in the app.json. That is where we're going to configure our from email and also the server and now the protocol, the port, and etc. So let's do that here. So when you have a look at here, you can see we are having our section. This is a section name as SMTP settings. You can change this. We are having our host, which is from localhost, because you know our Docker file is running locally, and the port is 25. When you check our compose file, we specify the port here as 25. And then, so here we have this UI, and here this is where we can communicate to the API or to the image through this port. Now, aside from that, we have from email. That's an admin email where this who is sending this mail. That's an admin. What is the name? Netcode-Hub, right? So you can change any of them and maintain the port and also the host if you're running locally. Now, once you're done with this, let's save this. Let's go to the program.cs file, grab the setup here, and I use that to register our Fluent email. So when you have a look at this, you can see that from here, we want to get a section in here. We want to get this so we do not use beta.configuration at all time here. We want to streamline this and reduce the number of code that you're going to write here. So we get this as a variable, and in that, when we have the section from this app settings, the section, we can get access to all of these keys here with their values. So you can see from here, we want to specify the key as from email, referring directly to this from email, from name, that is this, port, and our host. You know, port is integer, so we need to make sure we get the value as integer, and then we get the port. Okay, then after that, once you're done with this, you can just go ahead and use the interface. This is quite simple steps. Okay, as far as you're done with this, you are almost done. You can just go to our controller, use the interface, and that is all. Let's see how to work with that. Now, in the controller, I have already created controller that is known for weather forecast, but I'm going to say this is email controller. And after that, let's see how we can, let's streamline this, remove all this from here. So this is going to be, I want to have an API because I love that most. So I have it here, and this should be an HTTP post. And now right here, we can say send email. But you know, before we can send an email, we must have a payload, and that is what we're going to specify: the subject, the message, and whom we want to send the message to. So let's create a record down here for that. Now let's go and use this record as a payload in the endpoint. After we're done with this, we need to inject our interface. That's a Fluent interface that we installed here. So after injecting this email service, we need to go in and use this interface down here, okay, in our endpoint, to make a call and send it to the server that we have configured locally. All right, so you can see from here that we have our response created, because this is going to return, when we check this send async, it returns a task which takes in a send response. So we can use send response here. Now with this response, we can check first. Now we're having a to subject body, where we can specify as an HTML, then we send it. We can go and check from here. So return, we can say response.successful. That is a boolean, and we can check if it is true, then we want to return this, else we want to return maybe the response, the reason why that happened. Okay, so once you have this, we are done with that. So you see that integrating email service in your application is quite simple using this Fluent email.smtp package. Great. And also a Papercut image. Let's run this. So now that we see our Papercut is running, we can go to our browser and we make sure we have it accessed here. I want to also make sure we have our Postman also created, also launched. That is, did I say created? So we want to have our Postman launch, and in here, let me just launch mine and make it available. All right, so mine is also ready. Let's go and make sure we run this API. So when we have a look at this, we see that our API is ready. Our Postman 2 is ready. Let's go and test it. So we're going to grab this, our address for an API. Then we can create new HTTP request. The type here, the verb that we're going to use here is post. And don't forget, it's an API. We have an API. Then what is the controller name? That is email. And the route is what? Send. We can verify from here. API, email, and now send. Now we need to provide this send mail, which takes in email, subject, and our message. Let's do that. So once you have an endpoint configured nicely, go to the body, and in here you want to choose from raw, choose text as JSON. Now let's do it. All right, so I have my email, subject, and now message. Now, since we are saying that the message is HTML element, it tells you that we can use HTML in it to stress some keys that are the important aspect that you want to stress on. We can do it, and that is exactly what I've done here. Now, we must make sure that the names that we have here, they do correspond with what we have in this. So that's the to email, subject, and our message. So now that we have this set, let's hit on send. We can put a breakpoint here so we can verify. Let's do this magic. Now we are hit to check it up. Now send, and what is the response? Continue on. We're going to see the response here. So success was true, and now there is message ID as null. So it is successful. Now let's open our Papercut. Now let's refresh this. Oh, we have it already. So testing email few seconds ago. If I click on this, let me open it well. Testing, click on this, and I'm testing my email service. You can just call this multiple times, and now here, let's say you can change this as 1, send, which will get hit, then continue on, and the next one we can go up and check. Refresh this, that is 1, and you can see we have it. So with the help of this Papercut image, you can testing your email service is quite simple. So in production level, when you have your real server that you want to handle with it, it's a matter of going to your app settings, not the app settings, your program.ts file. You will see here, you're having this SMTP settings, you have your host, you have your port, right? So go to your app settings here. This is your host, and that is your port. So it's a matter of changing them or switching them to your current server when you're in the production mode. All right, so this is quite simple. You've seen how we can integrate this to our Papercut running locally as a Docker file in our web API. I believe you've learned something here. Do not forget to like this video, subscribe, and also hit on the notification bell so you don't miss out any of my upcoming tutorials. Or I'm going to catch up again with another informative and engaging content as this. Till then, take care.